Dr. Tetre, following recent developments with the Turkish research vessel Oruç Reis returning to the Antalya port, how do you read the Turkish reaction? Was it a result of the diplomatic pressure by Germany or the US?
What is clear is that the mere fact that the Oruç Reis has come back to its port before the European summit will be interpreted, will be seen as a sign of de-escalation. So I don't know what the intent was, but clearly it will be seen and interpreted as a sign of de-escalation, even though the Turkish government, as I understand it, has made it clear that this research vessel could come back and maybe will come back.
To that end, what's the possibility of the European Council imposing sanctions on Turkey next week?
If nothing changes between now and the European Council, it will be very difficult to have consensus of all EU members for sanctions vis-à-vis Turkey right now. There might be a call for caution, some warning signs from the Council, but I doubt very much that there will be an agreement on sanctions vis-à-vis Turkey at this point.
Now, looking at the Greek-French cooperation, we've seen a meeting between President Macron and Prime Minister Mitsotakis last week. Is it just a weapons deal, or is it much more than this? And do you think that France would engage in a possible military action between Greece and Turkey?
It's a very interesting question. What I can say is the following. Clearly, there has been an interest in France in selling high-end weaponry to various EU partners, including Greece, for a long time, and there have been discussions to that effect even before the current crisis. Second point is that I know that the French like to consider that any major weapons deal should imply and will mean some form of increased strategic partnership. So selling things like Rafale or maybe frigates is something that naturally leads, at least that's the way the French would like to do it, to a closer strategic relationship. Then on your second question, that's of course an important issue. Let me give you a hunch. I don't know what is in the mind of Emmanuel Macron, but I think it would be if there was a clear-cut aggression, military aggression or otherwise, against an EU partner, an EU ally such as Greece, it would be impossible for a country like France to not react militarily. It would be just impossible. Now, we are discussing very touchy issues, obviously, because not all EU members would agree that there would need to be a military reaction. But I think that if it was indisputably, according to the French view of international law, an EU border, then clearly the French would react militarily. In exactly what way, shape, or form, I don't know, but they would have to. They would have to.
What's the background in the clash between Ankara and Paris? Because we've seen very harsh statements between Macron and Erdogan. Is it Libya? Is it the energy resources in the East Med? Is it the power game inside Europe? Is it all of the above?
There is, of course, Syria and Libya. Places where we have, and we continue to have, very strong disagreements with Ankara. Resources, no, resources are not a key issue for us. I guess the key issue for us is really about international law, law of the sea, EU borders, the ability of Europe, of the EU, to show that it is willing and able to defend its borders, especially since other countries are watching. From our standpoint, China, for instance, but also Russia and others are looking at what we do, are looking at our reactions, because in the 21st century, many challenges will be put to the law of the sea. So it's all that. I would add a dimension which is often overlooked in Paris, but I think which is very much in the minds of French decision makers, which is the expansion of the Turkish brand of political Islam, which is seen by many in France as being not compatible with the Republic and the way the French conceive the role of religion in the public space. It's not about Islam, obviously, but it's a particular Turkish brand of radical Islam, or political Islam / radical Islam, which is seen as being actively, aggressively promoted in Europe, including in France, by Turkey. And that's something that I believe the President and the Prime Minister are very, very cautiously watching. So that dimension needs to be taken into account when you look at the current spat between Paris and Ankara.